What's going on, everybody? Welcome to Chef Briantsao Raw. Hope you've been well. A lot has happened since I last posted on this channel, the 21st of August, just under a month now. Lots of great news to update you on. Fortunately, a lot more positive from my last two videos on this channel, which was my finances are ruined, which they were, and going out of business. And I'm glad to say we are no longer on the verge of going out of business, and we also are our finances are no longer ruined. For those of you who are new to this channel, this is the channel where I pretty much upload when I want, whatever I want, without the constraints of my main channel where it's focused around my show Pro Chef Reacts. And where do I start? No idea. Well, first off, I'm having a little bit of a celebration beer because we're coming off of, about 7 weeks straight of really good sales. All right, well, as I mentioned, we were not doing too hot, but I was no slouch either. I was proactively working on solutions to increase sales as well as reduce cost. I'm very glad to say we have accomplished both. Some of those solutions, there were many things, there's no silver bullet, but the two main solutions was, number one, start offering smaller size sandwiches at a slightly higher price point, which does two things. We collect more money on a smaller quantity of food, which will reduce costs, but also increase sales. We were known to just have these massive sandwiches, which I felt the local customers were finding to be intimidating. So they didn't want to commit to that to that price. Even though it was a good value, it was still a perceived higher price because it was such a large quantity of food. You have to charge a higher quantity of money. But by offering a smaller size sandwich, now people can have a lunch for anywhere between $11 to $15, which is very reasonable for New York City. So that reduced cost, increased sales, and we also really upped our game in catering, which has also proved to be very fruitful, even though the company that we partnered with takes a big commission. It allows us to bring down our overhead costs and be a little less reliant on walk-in customers. And I'm glad to say both have worked fucking awesome. And we're finally starting to see the fruits of our labor. And it's been quite the journey. The shop has been, I signed the lease two months ago now. I signed my lease in September, so it's been 2 years since then. In those 2 years, the first 2 years, I had what was called a personal guarantee on the lease, meaning that I personally am guaranteeing that I will cover the amount owed to the landlord for the first 2 years, which is very scary because that basically puts my house on the line. I'm very glad to say I'm out of those weeds. So now it converts into something called a good guy guarantee, which so long as you provide the landlord with the specified amount of notice, if you need to close up shop, you can just provide notice and then hand back the keys and walk away from the lease, which is very common. It's a very common clause. So anyway, I'm out of those weeds. Sales are up. Cost is down. I'm sleeping better at night. I'm finally paying myself. And this was not without help. I have to really commend my staff who really stepped up, made sacrifices. They really wanted to see this place succeed, as well as my investors, who invested into an amazing consultant by the name of Michael Shane. Shout out to Michael Shane of Great Hands Hospitality. We've been working together now for nearly 2 months, and I got to say he is worth his weight in gold. Really taught me a lot. And I don't know, what's the point of this video? The point of this video is don't be afraid to admit when you need help. Don't be afraid to keep pushing forward, because it's often when you hit that roadblock, when you're really struggling, that is when, oh, there is some water leaking. And I'm going to turn off that AC. There we go. Okay. Yeah, when it rains really heavy, the AC tends to shoot water into the space, and I'm headed out soon after I film this video. So anyway, what was I getting at? When you are really going through a motherfucker of a time in your life, that is when you hit a crossroads. When should I keep moving forward or do I retreat? And a lot of times people retreat. I feel like especially today, a lot of people are not willing to suffer for their work, and more importantly, for what they want. And I always say my superpower is I was going to say my, not stamina, but just my lack of ability to give up, for better or for worse. I can't remember the word. I have had a few beers at this point, but I don't give up easy. Never have. I'm stubborn. I'm incredibly stubborn. I am terribly stubborn, and it's been a source of great success and also great failure in my life. But I will say this. I can't promise you'll be successful if you keep trying, but I can guarantee you won't be if you don't try. Right? If you don't at least give yourself the little bit of possibility to succeed. And how does that happen? You just keep going. You don't give up. How many times have you heard someone say, I want to start a podcast, I want to start a YouTube channel, I want to start a band, I want to start a business, I want to have a relationship with this person, and a couple times things get tough. You're not willing to work it out, and you give up. You move on, and then you just find yourself running into one failure after the next. So now this, now I want to get to a part of the video that I have to admit some shit. So things with the shop are doing great. Finances are doing great. I'm able to pay myself. I'm able to sleep at night. I'm feeling great in general, but it's not without consequence. Particularly these last 2.5 months, working 7 days, minimum 12 hours a day. There was just, whether it was on this channel or my main channel, or, something with the shop, not necessarily slinging sandwiches, but something behind the scenes. There was just so much work to be done just on the regular. I was working an insane amount, and it was worth it. But I did get really sick at one point, which, I have gotten very sick many times over the last couple of years because my immune system was beaten down due to the stress and, lack of sleep and stuff like that. But that's not the consequence I wanted to tell you about. The consequence was I was beginning to make my staff feel like they were in a hostile work environment. And it's because I went into this fight or flight mode, and I was tired. I was angry, mainly at myself. And I just came in like a bat out of hell. And I got really strict and really tough, which I am. In the kitchen, I'm pretty tough and strict. But you can be tough and strict without making things hostile. And that is where I failed myself. It's where I failed my staff. And I'm very fortunate that, an individual in the shop came to me and identified this to me. And I had to really take some time to reflect and check in with myself, check in with my mental health. Now, fortunately, when this all happened, it was around the time I was finally able to, that's another benefit I've had recently. I'm having regular days off now. But fortunately, this also happened around the same time where things at the shop had stabilized, and I was able to regularly pay myself, and I was able to take a day off and spend some time with my family. You know, prior to that, the time I'd spend with my family, we'd go for brunch in the morning, and honey, I have to be out by 11 a.m. because I got to go to Restaurant Depot and then go to the shop and work. You know, I never had like a, you know, for a few months now, never gave any time to my family. And my wife is, you know, now she's 8 months pregnant, you know, and I felt bad, you know, and also the summer was coming to an end and I barely spent any time with my daughter. Anyway, so I was just frustrated and tired and angry and all this stuff and all, you know, borderline depressed and all disappointed in myself. And that turned into me just, again, creating a hostile work environment. Now, I come from a pretty hard, tough dad. I come from, you know, I was trained by a generation of chefs that were probably like the last of the Mohicans as far as being super old school. Not to say that those types of chefs don't exist anymore, but the culture has definitely shifted. And I still believe in toughness. You know, I'm still that kind of like, you know, I like discipline and, you know, a very tightly run kitchen. But there's always a better way to do anything in life. And I ultimately want to create a work environment where my staff are happy to show up to work. That's very important to me because there's nothing worse than showing up to a place to work that you dread working. And that's the last thing I wanted to create. That's the last thing I want to own. And fortunately, you know, and this is my very honest, brutal, honest observation. I don't think it ever got to the point where it was horrendous and absolutely terrible. It's not like I was throwing fucking frying pans at people and getting in people's faces and cursing at them. No, I mean, very far from it. But I certainly know that I was being extra, let's put it that way. And I'm glad that it was identified to me before it went too far because naturally, and I've mentioned this before, I am a very angry and aggressive and pessimistic person. I know many of you may find that surprising, but the honest truth is I harbor a lot of anger and aggression. I always have. Many people who've known me for a long time know that about me. And I'm very fortunate that over the last, I would say especially maybe 3-4 years, maybe let's say 3 years, you know, I've really mellowed out. It's really come into control. But, you know, I'm only human. And I started speaking to my staff one by one. I only got through about a third of them right now, but I'm speaking to my staff one by one and identifying to them the situation of how dire it was financially because they also didn't know, you know, to be honest. You know, I mean, they should have had an idea because the shop was so slow. But, you know, I basically leveled with them. Hey, man, this is what's been going on the last 6 months. This is what I had to do to get us out of it. And that is why I acted this way. And I'm sorry. And I hope we can move forward from this. And I hope that, you know, I can continue to work on making this a place that you enjoy coming to work. And I hope this conversation strengthens our bond. And, you know, most of the staff I've spoken to were kind of like, yeah, you're a bit extra, but cool, man. Like, I'm here for you, you know? And I'm very thankful for that. So the next chapter of my life begins. My new daughter is due early October. I have moved into this wonderful new YouTube space, YouTube studio, right above Frenchie's restaurant. It's nice to have a much bigger space. There's actually another room over there where we will be doing cooking videos. So first Frenchie and I are going to launch a podcast, you know, video format and audio. And then after we get settled with that, we are going to start to do cooking videos. I'm going to be brutally honest with you. One of the main reasons why I wasn't really pushing cooking videos. Number one is they are a lot of work, but number two, I didn't want to do the fucking dishes, and now we have a dishwasher here. So, that's one of the biggest hurdles that I don't have to deal with. And anyway, there's a lot to do with, to build that up. We have to get a kitchen island. We have to get equipment up here and, build out the space for cooking video production. But at least for now, we have this wonderful space that I can do my main channel on, continue to have Frenchie on, and in the meantime, build our new channel together. And again, things with the shop are doing great. And I'm knock on wood, hopefully it sustains, but there are very positive signs that it will, despite all the changes I've made to the staff, to the shop, everything. Reviews continue to come in positive, although there was one negative review like 2 days ago. But, that's par for the course. That's just, you're never going to please every single person. But overwhelmingly, the reviews are positive. So that's the latest and greatest, guys. And hope you've been well. Thank you so much for your support. Thank you for joining me on this journey. There is so much great stuff to come. And I'm sure there's going to be many hurdles ahead of me as well. But I strive and do my best when I'm under pressure. But it's kind of nice to relax, talk to you guys, chill out, and have a couple beers. So with that said, hope you enjoyed this video as much as I did making it. And I'm Chef Brian Tsao, not your typical chef, and I'll see you really soon.